be used in crime. Okay, first and most obvious is communication. Okay, not just smartphones here. I'm talking about computers, laptops, Xboxes. Choose a digital device. It can be used for communication. Okay, and you would be absolutely amazed at how many people will use these digital devices to communicate about crimes. Okay. Um, I was working with a law enforcement agency on a digital forensics case, and there was a lady who committed an armed robbery. She was a suspect in an armed robbery. And basically, all we had for evidence was the victim's eyewitness identification, which, if you know anything about eyewitness identification, not that great of evidence. But we got a copy of her cell phone, the suspect's cell phone, and she had been texting right before the crime. She had been texting with a friend, and essentially she used slang terms, but she said, 5 minutes before the crime happened, be right back, I'm going to go rob somebody. Okay? So the communication itself doesn't necessarily have to be a crime. It can be, people use these things to communicate, and they communicate all kinds of information that can be used as evidence during a trial or used to investigate and discover, who the cyber criminal is, right? So communication, there's email, there's texting, there's phone calls themselves, there's Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp and Instagram and all these other things and ways in which we communicate. And sometimes the communication itself is criminal. For instance, if you send somebody with Snapchat, if you send somebody a picture of, a 14-year-old naked, that's illegal in and of itself. Just that communication is an illegal act. Or it can be, that communication can be planning for a crime, right? Or it can be just kind of incidental to the crime, like the example I just discussed 10 seconds ago. Computers can also be used as a tool to commit crime. Okay, so there are crimes where it's my computer is the tool I use to commit the crime. So if I break into a Department of Defense mainframe and steal things, or I send somebody a virus, or I do any of those illegal acts, my computer is the tool of the crime, right? It's the equivalent of a gun in an armed robbery. It's the tool I use to commit the crime. And then finally, there's the computer as kind of an incidental device, okay? Different crimes will leave different kinds of evidence on different kinds of digital devices. So there was a case, same law enforcement agency, there was a case where we investigated. It was a series of pharmacy robberies. People were breaking into these pharmacies and stealing drugs and money. And we got their GPS device. Okay, so they didn't use the GPS in their phones. They had like a TomTom or a Garmin or whatever, little GPS things in their cars. And we were able to find evidence on that GPS device that linked them to many more robberies than they were suspected of across many more states. That digital device was just kind of incidental to the crime. It wasn't used as a tool of communication. It wasn't used as the actual tool to commit the crime. It was just kind of incidental to the crime, but that evidence was able to be used in a really, really great way that put those guys away for a long time. Okay? Computer crime